Hi, everybody, and welcome to our first quarterly Zoom for HIFILM. We're so happy that you're all joining us, and we're so excited to have these panelists here today. Before we get started, I just wanted to talk a little bit about HIFILM membership, which is, as you know, growing. And every year we do more and more exciting things. So last year we had our first ever industry conference. This year we're having another one. And coming up before that is our first ever producers lab, which is an iteration of our storytellers lab we had last year. So being a part of HIFILM membership, you get access to all of these awesome industry development opportunities, including today. We just had a mixer last week, and it's only $100 a year to join. So I just want to encourage everyone to look into HIFILM membership and be a part of HIF and our industry development. Our panel today should run for about 45 minutes, and you can actually put questions into the YouTube. So please put questions. Melina, our amazing host, is going to ask those panelists your questions so that we can have a live interactive chat. We're going to go for about 45 minutes or so and then get into the Q&A. And yeah, we're just very grateful to have you all. So thank you so much for joining. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Melina, who is our HIF programming manager.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Jana. And yes, thank you, everyone, again, for joining us tonight. I'm just going to jump right into things. Tonight, we are joined by a Sundance Film Festival Shorts programmer and two filmmakers whose short films have had much success and strong festival runs, both which were actually official selections at HIF in recent years as well. So first, I'd like to introduce Irene Soriano-Saxon, a Los Angeles-based film curator, festival programmer, and writer. Oh, hi, Irene. I was going to do like a little bit of your bio, but I guess it already showed some. But yeah, She is a festival programmer and writer. Irene has programmed short films for the Sundance Film Festival, the Norwegian Short Film Festival, and the Outfest Fusion QT BIPOC Film Festival. Her work centers on community collaboration and inclusive cinematic representation of diasporic Filipinos across global independent film spaces. So welcome, Irene. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Thank you. And next we have Nick Hartanto, an Indonesian-American filmmaker based in New York. His short film, The Dishwasher, which he co-directed, was awarded a special jury mention at Tribeca in 2019 and was then acquired by HBO Max. He is also a very skilled cinematographer and shot the adult swim series Hot Package. He is currently touring festivals with his new film, Daily City, which won an Academy Award qualification at the Salute Your Shorts Film Festival, making him the very first Indonesian American to be eligible, which is incredible. Welcome, Nick.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. And last but not least, we have Alexandra Chin. She is a French Filipino-Chinese writer-director with a background in software engineering and prison reform activism. She is the founder of Emergent Works, a nonprofit that teaches formerly incarcerated people to code to help them secure well-paying jobs after prison. Her very first short film, Thirsty Girl, was an official selection at Sundance in 2024. And has screened in more than 50 festivals worldwide. The Thirsty Girl feature screenplay, which is currently in the works, was selected for numerous labs and honors. She was also one of Vimeo's 10 breakout creators of 2024. So welcome, Alex.
So happy to be here. Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, no, thank you all again for joining us and for taking the time out of your busy lives to join us on this panel tonight. But yeah, I guess I'll just jump right into things. First of all, let's see, Irene. So I know Sundance pretty much just ended. I hope you're getting some rest. I'm sure that was crazy. But
I had a couple of days of rest, so
yeah,
I'm ready for this panel.
Well, thank you. I'm sure it was crazy with, it being the last season in Park City, right? So I'm sure it was a good time. But yeah, so Sundance, of course, is like such a prestigious film festival that I feel like most filmmakers just like dream of getting into. What does the shorts programming team tend to look for in the films that they review? Like, is it more to do with the quality of production quality, or does it have to do more with the strength of story and perspective?
I always think it's the strength of story, and the technical aspect should help elevate the narrative, but it shouldn't be the other way around. So we really look for, this is very lab and festival sort of industry language, but we really do look for original shorts, that resonate, and, with stories that you think about like an hour later, a month later, a year later. We get submissions about, different life events, but then you'll always see that, or I'll come across a short, let's say that handles loss in just super different way. And like conceptually, like I would have never, would have thought about. And those are the kind of, short films that we look for, just really unique and really has something to say in a very different way.
That's good to hear. Because I know, like, some people are like, oh, you can shoot it on anything. Like, you have your phone, you can, make a project on your own. But like, there is a lot of like dialogue around, whether it is worth it to like invest in like higher quality equipment and cameras, right? So it's nice to hear that there is still like folks out there who are programming that are actually looking for the kernel and projects. Yeah. So during the programming process, there's a ton of programming variables, right, that go into programming a festival. There's runtime, program themes, like audience fit, or even just like screeners and programmers' tastes also comes into play. Do you have any tips for filmmakers to keep in mind when they're prepping their films to submit to festivals?
Yes, and this is where Sundance actually put out this blog 2 years ago of tips, like like advice for filmmakers who plan to submit short films. And I'm going to drop this. And if somebody could please forward it to the comment section. That has all our programmers like chiming in on what filmmakers should pay attention to or look at. And, it's anything from like length to, tips about like, make sure that the score doesn't run through the whole film. Like those that was one of my tips. Just different things to think about. But I think this link will, has really good tips. And, I really believe that filmmakers who want to submit a short to Sundance really should make the film that they want to make. And, not think about like, oh, is this going to fit the Sundance vibe? Or no, make your film and then submit it, and be surprised, we received 11,000 shorts this year or for 2026, and we only accepted 54. So
wow.
it's a crazy stat. And but we chose 54. So, the hope is that you will be one of future 54s, 57, 58s. But it's so important that you submit the film you want to make.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for sharing this resource that people can check out. I guess just kind of building off of that as well. Are there any interesting trends that you've been seeing in recent years with short films in terms of like their content or themes? And also like the other edge of that is like, is there things that filmmakers should avoid doing in terms of like, trying to get their film seen?
Yeah, I mean, I stray away from saying avoid this because I think every filmmaker has a story to tell. But of course, COVID happened. And so a year after, you saw a lot of COVID narratives. But I think one theme that's sort of evergreen that I've been doing this for 4 years is, loss, grief, family, relationships. Those are some of the things that's very evergreen. And then of recent, I've seen like sort of like AI shorts kind of creep in there. So it's really just, what's going on with the world. You see it in the submissions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing. And I will say to the whole panel, I'm just kind of, I'll be asking questions of each of you, but if you have anything to add to the conversation, feel free to jump in, no worries.
Well, I would love to echo what Irene said about just making the film that you love the most. Like this is a reminder I have in front of me as I try to make my first feature. That's just the goal. I feel like that's the only way to like have a shot at making a film that anyone else will like, is to make the film that you really love. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like
I kind of feel I feel that almost every story has been told already, and that's a good thing. I feel like since it's like ancestral, like all these stories have been told since the beginning of humankind, and it's just flowing through artists, and we put our voice on it, and I feel like to me it's it's important to find your voice, and I mean that for me that's a lifelong journey, to work on your voice, and I feel that is what will make your story unique, even though it's been told a million times before, is staying true to yourself.
One of my, I guess, advisors for a short time at the Sundance Lab was Jomo Frey, who's the DP of Nickel Boys, and I was talking to him about asking him advice on working with DPs and how to choose a DP, and like I just want to make a great beautiful film. He was like, don't try to make it good, don't try to make it beautiful, make it you, and that's what will make it good.
Yeah. I think a good question for a filmmaker to ask is, does this feel like only I could have made it? You know, and if you can answer that question, then that could guide, you know, how you feel about the process.
I love that. So Nick, you've had a few shorts that have had really successful festival runs, which has been really impressive to watch. The most recent, of course, being Daly City. Can you share just a little bit about the process of submitting to festivals and like how you tried to prep your film and materials to set it up for success?
Yeah, for sure. My producer, when I was like in the writing stage, my producer Clara Peterson, she actually told me reading the draft, she was like, you know, I think this has, you know, a good chance to be, you know, qualified at an Oscar qualifying festival. And so, you know, we made the effort when we were in the festival submission stage to, you know, get the list from the Academy and, you know, see, you know, how many festivals we could afford, you know, to submit to, and doing our research, you know, in terms of which ones might be a good fit. So we definitely made a point of, you know, submitting to Oscar qualified festivals. And we're just, you know, we're very lucky to actually, you know, win the qualification at Salute Your Shorts Film Festival. But I feel like my festival strategy has been the same for all three of my shorts. I think you have your big festivals, you know, like Sundance, South by, Tribeca, you know, Toronto, like, you know, etc. And there's kind of no strategy with that. You're just gonna submit, like, you know, like it's a roll of the dice. It's winning the lottery. And you know, I'm sure one could strategize how some of those big festivals have premiere status requirements. Also, you know, there's always a debate with like me and my editor or something about if it's a rough cut, you know, like, are you going to submit it now or wait till, you know, a whole nother year, you know, or if you have a super rough cut and it's a late deadline, like, is that even worth it to do that? So there are stuff like that to think about. But kind of like another bucket that I think of is regional film festivals. And in a way, I feel like it's just as hard to get into a really good regional film festival like HIF, you know, like Atlanta or whatever, or even like the ones that are shorts focused, like, you know, Palm Springs Shorts Fest, Aspen, Salute Your Shorts, you know, and you know, there's a lot of them. So again, you have to do your research to see, you know, which one might be a good fit. And what I usually do is I kind of look at like the awards press release for like the past 2-3 years, and I watch some of the movies, like the ones that might have won the top award or like the acting award or the honorable mention or whatever, to kind of get you know, a feel for the taste of the programming. And you know, that's all just to save money, because you know, I have limited funds to the amount of festivals that I can submit to. And then finally, for me, like the final bucket would be like hyper local festivals. And that one I do strategize that I wait till like second half of like the festival run to submit to. But like I live in, you know, Brooklyn, and New York has so many amazing like film festivals. And some of my best experiences have been from, you know, the local smaller festivals, like for instance, Nighthawk Shorts Fest in Brooklyn is like one of my favorites. That's like a boutique theater here, and they have like a programming staff that's like full-time year round, so they're, you know, they know what they're doing, and their festival is great, and I get to meet, you know, like my neighbors, you know, like, and so I really think that you can get a lot out of attending you know, festivals that are in your neighborhood.
Yeah, I actually like how you touched upon like a festival strategy budgeting for submitting to film festivals even, you know, it's like, I mean, it's an amazing thing to just like make a film in itself, of course, but then there's all of this other research and planning that goes into your festival plan and your strategy. Cause like you said, there's festivals that, you know, have premiere status requirements, or like, you know, it's like some festivals don't accept works in progress and some do, you know, so there's all types of variables that you have to look into and do research for and budget for. Like that's like a line of budget that you have to budget into your expenses, you know, as well. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I did want to ask as well, you know, it was so exciting to hear that Daly City did secure Academy Award qualification status. So, you know, congratulations on that again. And I would love to hear just if you could share a little bit about the process of embarking on that Oscar campaign and what that looked like. Because I feel like a lot of people don't really know how that works at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, full disclosure, we didn't get nominated, but the publicist that we hired represents, I believe, 4 of the 5 nominated films for live action. So I really feel like, you know, Dorothy, I really got to see behind the curtain, you know, and when we first started the whole process, I reached out to like every friend and colleague that I could, including you, Melina, asking, you know, what can you tell me about Oscar campaigning? Can I do it DIY, or do I have to hire a publicist? Like what goes into it? And literally like 99.9% of the people responded, I have no idea. Like, you know, I don't know anything about Oscar campaigning. So I do feel like the information is a bit gated, and I would love to kind of democratize that. Yeah, I would say the first step of it, with, you know, you win the top prize at a qualifying festival. That's the most direct way. But I would say one way that people don't know about is, or, you know, it's lesser known, is called forewalling. And forewalling is when you just pay a theater to play your short, or you can even like do like a group of shorts to lower the cost, and you pay for a 7-day theatrical run, and you can get your qualification that way. And I've actually heard of stories of shorts who got nominated or even won from forewalling. So it's an interesting process, and I actually think I've heard that the films that get qualified, like half of them are forewalled. And so, you know, the next phase is, you know, the voting process. And that's kind of an interesting process. Your film gets put onto the ASR, which is called the Academy Screening Room. It's an online portal, you know, where Academy voters can watch all the shorts. And there is a designated branch for every category, so animation, doc, and live action. And that branch is like, you know, some industry vets, some pretty famous people, some up and coming filmmakers, you know, kind of experts in their field, and they're dedicated to your category. And in recent years, the Academy has actually opened it up to any Academy voter can vote. And you would think that would make it so that the voter pool is like thousands and thousands of people, but it's actually the opposite. If you opt in as an Academy member, you have to watch like a bunch of films. So like in order to vote, you have to, you know, I think you have to watch something like 30 films. And so a lot of people don't want to do that. Like I have a friend who's an Academy voter, and she will wait till, you know, the short list or nomination to participate. So what's kind of interesting about that is there's actually not that many voters that you're trying to kind of win over. And then the final thing that I'd say is there's the campaign process. And, you know, obviously there are Cinderella stories of films who like just submit and walk away and then they get like nominated. But to me, everybody that I've kind of interviewed who've been nominated and who's even their shorts have won, you know, they've all had publicists. And so that's like, for me, that's always the hard part, because it's like, it's a very cost prohibitive like process.
Yep.
Hiring a publicist, I mean, the bottom end is like maybe $25,000, and it'll go up to 250,000. I've heard 500,000. I've even heard of a short that spent $1 million.
What?
Yeah, it's so.
But did they win?
Yes.
Um,
But
At least
so,
they won.
Yeah.
I mean, the way they did it was they were sponsored by an organization. So
You better
that
win if you're
wasn't
going to
their
spend $1
money.
million.
I know.
really.
Wow.
But it's like making another short film. It's a lot of producing. It's almost like a full-time job. And you have to be really creative. Your publicist isn't just like giving you everything. You have to do a lot of the a lot of the hard work and elbow grease. And so I'd say, looking back, if I were to say this to myself like a few months ago, like the advice that I would give, in a very general way, because this is just kind of the tip of the iceberg, but is one is you send e-blasts to the Academy members, and you have to pay for this. So like each e-blast is like almost $1,000. It's super expensive, but it's a very powerful tool. It goes straight to the branch members, and it goes straight to everybody who opted in. And you have to be strategic, and you can only put in specific things into these e-blasts. There's a lot of rules, but I've gotten responses from Academy members, and so it's a very powerful tool. Number two is, you want to have an FYC screening. You can actually do a virtual one, or in person, and to save money, you can kind of group together with other filmmakers. And a publicist is very important at that stage to bring in Academy members to your screening. Number three, I would say, is getting a celebrity to champion you. And really the big point of that is actually for the FYC screening. If you can get the celebrity to moderate your Q&A, that will generate buzz and attract Academy members to come to your screening. Like, we were lucky enough to just we were just producing our butts off, and we got in contact with Justin Chan, and he ended up being our celebrity moderator. But he was in like Russia, so we did a virtual Q&A with him, which we sent via e-blast to all the Academy members. And then the final piece is press. And not all press is equal. You really want press that Academy members will see. So they have to be like industry related publications, so like Variety, Hollywood Reporter, and they don't really want to write an article about a long listed short. So it takes some producing effort there and money, and also good ideas for headlines for them to have in order to get actually good press. And so that would be my general overview if I were to give somebody advice if they're just beginning their Oscar campaign.
Wow.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Nick.
You demystified the hell out of that.
Yeah, you should have your own panel on this topic. Yeah, I do agree that the whole process is pretty like gatekeepy. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing all of that information. Yeah, it's a whole other thing. But that's awesome that you got that qualification and that experience. So congratulations again. I'm gonna move over to you, Alex. Your very first short film that you made, called Thirsty Girl, premiered at Sundance, right?
Actually, we premiered at Provincetown International Film Festival, an amazing regional festival that is very like LGBTQ friendly. It was started by John Waters, and it's like it's a wonderful festival. Highly recommend to everyone. Very like sex forward, which I think is why they liked Thirsty Girl. Obviously John Waters Festival, they like sex. And then we played a few others like Palm Springs, Short Fest, a couple other, smaller festivals, and then 22 rejections in a row. And then I get a call from Irene out of the blue one day. I get a call, and it's like, "Hi, this is Irene from Sundance." And I was like truly just didn't even believe what she was telling me. And Irene will forever be one of my angels. Um, and so we played Sundance like kind of 6 months after we technically premiered. And we had maybe played like 7 festivals prior to that. But it was obviously by far the, most the biggest, I don't know what biggest means, but festival we played at that point and in the journey as a whole. So it was huge for us. And like it felt like a massive miracle and stroke of luck. And um yeah, I think that's what's special about Sundance is that it's true, like anyone has a shot. Like as someone who's never made a film, who doesn't know anyone in the industry, like, but you just gotta get lucky. You just if your work resonates with the programmers at that exact point in time. So I got really lucky.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, that's like such an inspiring success story, right? To like make your first short film and it getting into Sundance. That's incredible. You are currently working on the feature-length production of Thirsty Girl, right? Can
Yes.
you maybe share a little? Yeah, it's super exciting. I'm so excited to see the final film come together. And yeah, I was just wondering if you could just kind of share a little bit about that process of extending a short film into a feature and like, it's like how you're able to kind of garner the support needed to make that transition.
Yes. Honestly, it has been a very long and challenging journey. One thing that's maybe interesting to note about the Thirsty Girl shorts to feature journey, we're shooting in 3 months and 12 days. Um,
Wow.
is that I wrote it as a feature first, Thirsty Girl. And I think in that sense, it was easier to get support for the feature once the short had been playing festivals because I could immediately say like, well, hey, here's the feature script. Anyone who liked the short, any producer was like, what are you working on? I was like, here's the feature script. And I think it must be hard to take, I think every story has its perfect like format, has its perfect length, right? Like some stories are meant to be a TV show, some stories are meant to be a short, some stories are meant to be a feature. And I think it must be hard to take a story of a short and be like, I'm going to expand this to a feature. Similarly, it was very hard to take a story that was designed to be a feature and turn it into a short. And it took me, I almost didn't want to do it. I didn't want to make the short version of Thirsty Girl because I was like, I don't think this could be good. But I was like, let me try. I've never directed, so I have to direct something. I have to learn some way. So let me try to make the Thirsty Girl short film. And so I think it was a challenge to take the feature story, which is like so much bigger than the short. It's like quite different in tone, actually. It's very like emotionally maximalist, where like the Thirsty Girl short is kind of restrained. And that was partially because some stuff wasn't working in the edit, and I was like, just get rid of it. Make this a little bit more mysterious. But anyway, so started writing the script in 5 years ago, the feature. Then directed the short in 2022, premiered in 2023, played Sundance in 2024. That's when I was able to attach producers, amazing producing team, Asher Goldstein, who is produced a lot of Destin Daniel Cretton's movies, and then Carlos Lopez Estrada and Valerie Bush of Anti-Gravity Academy. They made Dee Dee. I actually went to Sundance that year with the goal of meeting the people who made Dee Dee and convincing them to make my movie. I did not convince them there, but I did meet them there. And I think that's like a good lesson for anyone attending a festival is like, even it's okay if you don't accomplish the goal, but just having like a goal can help you like you put yourself in the right places. Like anyway, and so then since Sundance 2024, I've been developing the script with my producers and finding financing, attaching cast. Oh my gosh, what a journey. We spent all this past year, 2025, looking for financing for the film. It was incredibly difficult. It is such a difficult time to find financing for independent features, any features. And like especially one that is about sex addiction and with Asian leads. Can't have two non-commercial things together. Don't let anyone tell you that having Asian leads is non-commercial. whatever. And so it was extremely challenging, and I honestly almost gave up. Like in June, I almost every indie film financier in the industry had passed on the Thirsty Girl script, and I was like, wow, this is the first time in this like 4.5 year journey of trying to make this movie that is such a personal story that I was like, it's about my own personal experience with sex addiction. It's about my relationship with my sister. Like, it's truly the story that I feel I was like put on this earth to tell. So it's like, so I've never wanted to give up, but for the first time in all those years, I felt like maybe this movie wasn't going to get made. And I was like, maybe this just isn't happening. And I got really depressed. And I think like out of that depression was born this like sense of like, no, I have to find a way no matter what. Like, if my producers can't find this money right now, if my sales agents can't find this money, like I have to find it. And so I went to like every single person I've ever met in my life. I used to work in tech, went to tech people, was like anyone, like, is anyone willing to help me make this movie? And little check by little check was able to like raise essentially half the budget, and then took this back to my team and was like, okay, like now that we have half the budget, are other financiers interested? And they were, because once you have half the budget of a film, it's like, I don't know, it's like it's really happening and people want to jump on board. Film financiers are very risk averse. And I mean, if they were really risk averse, they probably invest in in something with a higher rate of return. But anyway, that's the contradiction of the film industry. So now we're finally making the movie. Sorry, that was such a long answer.
No. Yeah, no, thank you so much for walking us through that. I mean, kind of touching upon budget, I guess, like, do you have any tips for emerging filmmakers about like where they should focus their efforts in finding those resources and funds? Like, is it like, grants or script competitions, or just like, crowdfunding? Or like, does it maybe just like depend on the project?
I mean, I literally applied to everything. I say that I'm like an application slut. Like I said, I've truly applied to every single screenwriting competition, lab, grant, like every single year since I started writing this Thirsty Girl feature script. And have only received a fraction of them. But like, since I've applied to all of them every single year, it seems like a lot, the ones that I've received. But I think this is the thing. I think the only thing that really matters is like, can you convince someone to give you $1 million or however much it costs to make your feature? And that can be one person, that can be one organization, whatever. And it's just about getting lucky. I guess it's kind of like getting into a film festival. You submit to 50 and you get lucky. Someone really loves your script and someone really believes in you. And then at the same time, every little accolade, every organization that supports you is like the signal, both externally and also it's like a community that you're building that can help you keep going. Like, you never know who a new ally can lead you to, like, and so a big part of my year was truly just having meetings with as many people as possible who like believed could lead me to an extra 100K, an extra 200K for the movie. And I think that's the thing that independent film directors, like, I think we need to take it more in our own hands, the financing of our films in this really difficult time, and realize that, yeah, we can't just like wait and pray for other people to do it for us. I mean, at least I couldn't.
I agree with that. Yeah. Okay. And I guess like kind of touching on like, those connections that you make, right? Or like, reaching out to everyone that to help find support for your projects. I guess this question is for both Alex and Nick. How important do you find is it to attend festivals in person? And is that something that has been worth your time to actually attend in person?
I think the value that I get from attending festivals in person is twofold. One is like strategic, like career networking of like, oh, well, the person, like I got breakfast at Palm Springs Short Fest with like Ash Cook, who is like also a programmer at Sundance, and and like you can make very important relationships with people at film festivals. Like I met the producers of Didi there. However, I think more importantly, the thing I get most out of attending film festivals in person is like my film community, like meeting filmmakers like Nick, whose short I got to see the first time at HIF. Our shorts were programmed together and I adored. It was like my favorite short in the block for sure. One of my favorite shorts of the year. And just um being inspired by my fellow filmmakers and getting to like the hardest part of the journey. It's a tough journey to be an artist and a filmmaker. It's all rejection. It's so much pain. It's so much suffering. And so having dear friends, truly, I mean, some people maybe wear it better than others, but I am like tortured. And so like having friends and allies that we can just go through together and like cheer each other on and support each other, like that's the thing I get most out of festivals, truly, is the community.
So much suffering, Alex. I'm on the like the toxic Reddit thread, like seeing, and I'm on like Vimeo looking at the stats, and it's you gotta stop doing that stuff. But I would say, yeah, festivals are like everything to me. Though I would say you only get out of a festival like what you put in. Like I've been at festivals where I've had like life-changing experiences, and then like a filmmaker friend of mine was just like, oh, I had an awful experience. So you know I feel like with Daly City, I attended the most festivals that I've ever attended in the past, and a large part of them were Asian film festivals. I feel like we got into most of the Asian film festivals in this country, and that was extremely powerful to me. And that's like what Alex was saying. Like having gone to Sundance, that or not Sundance, sorry, Tribeca, that festival is incredible. It's like a behemoth, like it's a giant machine, and it's incredible. It's so inspiring, but there is a sense of like intense competition.
Mm.
And I feel like in the Asian film festivals, I feel like there was a feeling more of like we're like cheering each other on, and to this day I'm still in contact with so many people that I've met in those festivals, and giving them advice, they're giving me advice, and we're really helping each other out. And so for me, all those experiences, like I have this like feeling while I'm on the festival run that I'm almost like I kind of want to go home and start writing. Like I'm like so inspired. Like I'm watching life-changing documentaries and stuff like that. And so yeah, I'm filled with so much energy that I borderline want to stop the festival run so I can just like channel all of it.
I have something to contribute. I would last week at Sundance, I had this conversation with Jiro Carrillo, filmmaker. He won jury best director for shorts back in 2023, and we were talking, because I was saying, oh, maybe I want to go to Cannes this year. And then he was, he didn't have a film at the festival at Sundance this year, but he figured in his head, he said, we're filmmakers, we should go to these things. And I thought about it, and it's true. Accountants and lawyers, they go to their conventions. So filmmakers should go to their festivals, right? And meet new people, crew in these places. I mean, just meet different people in the ecosystem that can help you get to where you want to get to, and where else will you find them except obviously a film space, right? So yeah, go to festivals.
Oh, and one amazing thing that has been a part of my experience attending festivals in person is like very specific community groups that can come together. For example, Irene is such a champion of Filipino voices. Like at all the festivals and all, like, in any environment that she goes, but especially at Sundance, you know, that's where I've experienced the beauty of your community organizing. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, I've been with Sundance for 4 years, and I was lucky enough to work with Gold House the first year to host like a Filipino specific event to welcome the directors that got Filipino directors that got accepted that year. But the following year, I said we have to keep this going. You know, we can't rely on an organization who might change their mind the next year. So let's just do it. And you know, my whole goal was, you go to these things, you go to these festivals, and you know, some folks don't know anyone, and I hate the fact that somebody who wants to get something out of a festival will feel isolated and you know, like what you said, Nick, like this person didn't have a good, or this friend of yours didn't have a good experience. Like, I don't ever want that to happen to anybody. And so any which way you can create community. And I know for, you know, of course, my I don't know, my North Star is helping Filipino diasporic filmmakers. I'm like, I'm going to make sure that when you go to Sundance, that you will have a community to welcome you. And so that you don't leave thinking, oh, well, yeah, that was good. But, you know, I didn't know anybody. Nobody talked to me. Like, I don't want that to happen. So that's why I do what I do.
Mm-hmm. And I remember the like Filipino lunch that you organized the first time I attended Sundance. I mean, it was, first of all, it was so big and it was so beautiful. A bunch of us were crying. I obviously cried. And it was just the entire warmth of what a lot of Filipino culture represents to me was like present in that room. And I left with so many dear friends because of this community organizing that you do, Irene. And this past year I was just at Sundance, and it was almost like there was a Filipino gathering like every day, and I couldn't even go to all of them like that, and that was very special.
And, you know, I really encourage, you know, everybody to, if there isn't a group for you, start it. You know, if you go to Sundance, like, blast it out in your, I mean, not even just Sundance, but any festival. Like, hey, I'm here. You know, I'm at Holly Shorts. Like, where are all the Southeast Asian filmmakers? Like, come at me, right? Create the community. You know, don't rely on one person, one organization. Like, do it for yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Absolutely. So you heard it here first, folks. Attend festivals if you are able to. It's just such a, you know, there's so much good energy at festivals. And like you all said, like, you know, you can meet your future, you know, artistic, like future collaborators essentially as well. And so there's lots of opportunities for networking and collaboration there. I think it's time for some questions. Are you guys ready to see some questions? Anyone who's watching live, please type your questions into our little chat box, and we'll see how many we can get through. So let's see. First up, someone asks, are shorts becoming longer recently, 20 to 25 minutes? What is the sweet spot? And does it vary from one festival to another?
Yeah, you know, I don't like to give out like sweet spot numbers. You know, a story will tell itself at the time that it needs, right? So, but there's just this reality where you're asking programmers to consider, let's say, you know, for some, I think it's 49 minutes max for a short. And a program is what, 70, 90 minutes. So if you have like a 30-minute short, you're asking a programmer to devote half of the program to your short if they accept it. But so what I'm saying is it better be the shit. I mean, it has to work. I mean, every minute of that short better be worth the minute because you're taking half of the program. But shorter shorts are easier to program, and we can add more filmmakers to the lineup. So that's how we think. But, you know, it's up to you.
I have an opinion. I think the sweet spot is 8 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I say. I say 8 to 12.
Yeah.
I'd say something interesting is with Academy nominated shorts, they're longer. They skew longer, and I think that is like strangely due to the fact I think the Academy voters like it's their preference that the short tells maybe a fuller story, maybe a full 3 acts, and so yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and like that being said too, it's like there are some really incredible films that are like 35 minutes, it just depends on the story that you're telling, and if you make all of those minutes count, like Irene said.
Yes. And I'm not a film festival programmer, but I've seen so many shorts as I've toured with Thirsty Girl. I'm sure you have too, Nick. Obviously everyone here has seen a million shorts. And for me, so like what I need from a short, it's not so much about how long it is, but I need it to interest me from the very beginning, from the first minute. It needs to have me lean in. I feel like that's more important than the length of it, is like grabbing my attention in some way from the very beginning.
Anything else to add to this one? I will agree though with this commenter. I do feel like shorts are skewing longer on average nowadays. I'm not really sure what's up with that, but that's just, I have noticed that trend.
That's so funny because our attention span is skewing shorter.
Yeah, right. Okay, so next question. This one is directed to Irene. Someone asks, at Sundance, you have a fixed amount of shorts programs. What's a good way to strategize or target those fixed slots? I guess that's kind of like a more general question.
There's no, that question is difficult to answer. There's no strategy to, get yourself in front of the line. Your film really will speak for itself. So there are unfortunately no tricks or anything like that.
Let's see. Okay. Next one. The merits of a short film is that it has to be amazing, but any tips to amplify your entry? Or what other assets or tips might be helpful to flag your entry in the massive pile that Sundance gets?
Actually, every short that's submitted gets eyeballs. So we got 11,000. All of them were watched. So you can be sure. So there's really, there's not, I got to do this, I got to do that. Like, it'll be seen, promise. Like a live person saw your short. So yeah. And then that's where you see if, it's up to the person viewing to see if it moves forward or not. But there's really nothing you can do to, like I said, get yourself in front of the line.
Can I ask the programmers here that is there early, regular, late deadline? Is that a factor? And also rough cuts?
So for me, well, it depends on the festival. Like if they specifically have a no rough cuts, please, or no works in progress, stipulation, that's different. But at HIF, for instance, it's totally fine to submit works in progress or rough cuts, just as long as it's explicitly stated that that's what it is. Or, oftentimes there's a slate at the top of the film that says what is still in production or post. So that's really helpful for us to know, okay, this is still in progress. And we kind of try to program in terms of, we assume it will be complete if selected. So that's fine. What was the first?
Just submitting early or late, does it affect your chances in any way?
Well, I can speak for a couple of festivals. Bigger festivals, I've noticed probably not, just because we're kind of programming the whole time. But for smaller festivals I've been working at, sometimes it does, just because we kind of have a smaller amount of programming slots, and sometimes we'll start programming early, so we're like filling those up as we go. So by the time we get to that extended or late deadline, we already have films that are like in slots ready to go. So it would have to like really fit into a certain theme or something to like get in. But I will say at HIF, that's not how it works.
You know, for Sundance, for rough cuts, I would just make sure it's close to finished a rough cut as you can. If it's super rough, just to make a deadline, you'd be shooting yourself in the foot. I wouldn't worry too much about color and sound not being perfect. If the narrative is tight, and then you just have to ask the question, is it ready? You know, some filmmakers have waited that year, you know, rather than trying to meet that deadline. And I'm glad they did, because, you know, the following year I've seen the rough cut. It was better, you know. And as far as like submitting, you know, early deadline, regular deadline, late deadline, you know what, we watch films throughout the year, and then our deliberations happens at one time, so it doesn't matter. And you know, there's this perception out there that, oh, you're already so tired, you've seen 11,000, so if you submit in the late deadline, my short will probably not do well. Not true.
All right. Yeah, thanks for that question, Nick. So there's a question for Thirsty Girl, but I think we already touched upon this. It was just someone asking, like, can you talk about the adaptation process from short to feature? But we already kind of touched upon that, right? I think that's good. Yeah, we can go to the next one. Someone asks Irene about premiere status. It seems like premiere status is a little looser for shorts. Like, what are some guidelines in factoring in final decisions? Like, for instance, Thirsty Girl, because it premiered somewhere else before Sundance.
So, I mean, the basic answer is that we have no premiere status for shorts. You know, shorts have become part of programs where they've shown like in 15 other festivals, and they still got in. We know how hard it is, you know, to get into festivals as a short. Like, I mean, it would just be so much more complicated to have a premiere requirement. So we do not have that. And so, yeah, I mean, we get shorts that played the first time. We've gotten shorts that have played in other festivals. So it's really the quality of the short that we get and what we, you know, what resonates with us. And then we'll select that short.
Mm-hmm.
You know, someone told me, like someone who used to be a mentor and an advisor told me not to submit to Sundance because there was no chance it would get in because it had already premiered. And thankfully, I got another opinion. Someone who had played a short at Sundance later in their festival run was like, no, like, we got in, like, you never know. So I'm glad I submitted anyway.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm so glad you did.
I would just add that Tribeca does have a premiere requirement, and their programmer actually checked in with us, you know, and said, you know, like, have you gotten into anything yet? You know, just double checking before they gave us the, you know, the final email. So
yeah.
Yeah, and I will add, at HIF, we do have a Hawaii premiere status requirement, specifically for shorts. So that's just something to keep in mind, you know, like some like regional festivals may have, you know, some requirements like that, but that just is kind of something to factor into your festival strategy. Okay, let's see, who's next? Do we have time? Well, somebody asks, how was your experience at HIF? And what was special about that experience compared to other festivals?
I would love to jump in. I mean, HIF was very special for me because for multiple reasons. One is Thirsty Girl did not get into that many like Asian American film festivals, truly. Like we got rejected from a lot of them. And HIF, though it is not specifically like a, you know, Asian diaspora film festival, a lot of the films that play HIF are from the Asian diaspora, which makes sense because like that is, you know, a big part of Hawaii. And so it felt like it was it was really beautiful to be a part of that. And I got to see so many incredible shorts from the Asian diaspora. And I felt like I was really in community of my people. Another great aspect is like, I mean, it's interesting. I'm mixed, French, Filipino, Chinese. There's not many places on earth where I walk around and feel like I belong and look like everyone. And Hawaii is honestly one of those only places. And so I love being there. It's truly one of the most beautiful places on earth. And so it was special for many, many reasons. And there's just something about, like, the thing about HIF is it's not just a film festival. It's like, well, I'm going to go to the festival for some of the day and then I'm going to go jump in the ocean the second half of the day. Like, and it's not just any ocean, it's like the Hawaii ocean. So, and then obviously the HIF community, I adore, Anderson, Melina, like everyone who's a part of that festival just puts so much love into it. It's so much a festival about, I think, community and like the force of community within the independent film world. So it was very special to me, and I hopefully will get to go back.
Yeah, I mean, HIF was to me, I like to describe it as like it's like it is a big festival and a small festival. Like when I got there, like I got off the plane and I raced to the theater to see Blade Runner and then Roger Deakins, give a panel afterwards. So there is, and I know like in previous years, like Taika Waititi was there and whatnot. And so like, it's just, there is that large aspect to it. That's incredible. But also, in between movies, I'm going into the mall and I'm getting some spam musubi, and and then I'm just like hanging out with folks, on the beach and grabbing a beer with somebody. And there is a feeling, like Alex was saying, of such community and kind of like the smallness and intimate quality of that. And so, even though I'm on like, it's like paradise there, I felt like I hardly even like, touch the tip of the iceberg of all, the beautiful scenery and stuff, because I was so busy just hanging out with folks and indoors watching movies.
Oh, thank you too for sharing. I have a vivid memory, Nick, of meeting you for the first time at the theater, and you had your suitcase in tow, and I was like, oh, you just actually came straight from the airport. Nice to meet you. Actually, was Thirsty Girl and Daly City in the same year, or were you different years?
In the same block.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I should have known that because I programmed it. Wow. Wait, so that was like 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Oh, I love that. Love that for us. Okay.
Reunion.
I know. Look at us. Okay, let's see. So I think we only have a couple more. Well, just to answer this question in the chat, someone asks if this is being recorded, and yes, it is. So this will be available later. But someone here asks, what pulls you into a short almost immediately, sometimes before you even know what the story is?
I just my personal practice, I give a short the whole time that it needs to tell its story. It's not one of those like, oh wow, and then I'm like drawn in, because some stories need the time, right? It like transforms, let's say 20 minutes later or 15 minutes later. So I don't have an answer for that question. I take each short as they come.
I think for me, well, like, I do agree. It's hard to say because you don't really know what's coming. And I do watch shorts in their entirety. So it's like, even if I'm like not really vibing with something, I'll still give it the time that it deserves and watch it in its full runtime. But I will say, like, I mean, I really appreciate fresh perspectives and like stories from maybe groups I've never heard of or am not, super familiar with. So it's like, if there's a film about a topic or like dealing with something I'm just like, super surprised to learn about, that's something that kind of like pulls me in immediately too. And I'm just like, oh, this is really like something I never thought about before, or, something that I've just never heard of and I want to know more, kind of thing. So fresh perspectives, fresh voices is always like welcome and a refreshing, thing to have in a whole pile of shorts that you see?
For me, what pulls me into a short, and I think, see, this is just my taste. I'm the kind of film audience member that I I I don't want to be bored, so I want to be pulled in from the beginning, and it puts me on the side of the filmmaker when I'm pulled in from the beginning, I feel. And so what pulls me in is like some kind of narrative tension, like a question that isn't answered yet. Like I don't know maybe where this is going, or like something that one of my favorite shorts of all time is this great Filipino short called Cross My Heart and Hope to Die. And it's such a slow burn, but they do something brilliant in the opening scene. There's this girl, she's cleaning this like office. She's like annoying. Clearly this job sucks. She sits down in a chair. She has this big trash bag. She puts the trash bag over her head and she starts to suffocate herself. Then someone walks in, she takes it off, she keeps cleaning. Then almost nothing happens. She's just working in the office for like 15 minutes, but because that happened in the first minute, I'm like, where is this going? And so like narrative tension. I mean, that's like a shocking way to begin a short film, but and anything that surprises me, like, because you have to see so many shorts in a row, like in a film block, like just anything that an interesting choice, anything I wouldn't have done. That's obviously very subjective. That always pulls me in.
That short, by the way, is by Sam Manaxa from the Philippines. Amazing filmmaker.
Yes, yes.
Okay. If anyone is watching and has any last questions, please put that into the chat. But I guess just to ask all of you a last question, are there any last words of advice for aspiring filmmakers trying to chart the best course for their films and navigating festivals?
For me, I've already mentioned it earlier. I really encourage filmmakers to find a community, because this ecosystem is very tough, and you want to be able to lean on other people to keep you in the game. And I don't mean game as in like creepy game, but to really keep you in this space. There'll be a lot of rejections, like what Alex said, and a lot of heartbreaks, and cancellation of financing, like just a bunch of stuff. So if you have when you're working like a lone wolf, like I think the pain is so much more intense. But if you have a community, like what Alex was saying earlier, you'll probably stay in the space longer because you will have a support system. And the last thing, I've talked to a lot of filmmakers. Please give yourself grace. This is, what is that phrase? This is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And of course, there's like Nick was saying, like the Cinderella stories, but for I think filmmakers that I've seen who've been in this space, they've put in the time and they hung in there, and the rewards are there. But you just have to stay in it, and take care of yourself in the meanwhiles, right?
I would just say, to build off what Irene's saying, I feel like every festival run I've ever had devastated me, just like rejection off the bat. And definitely, like in my hero's journey, it's like the dark night of the soul. Like I am very demoralized, and I do think that it's important to kind of have the grit to stick with it. In that, I feel like an interesting thing that happens when you submit to festivals is you kind of find your audience. And I feel like something that happened in my previous film, Atrophy, which was like a horror film. It was this like during the pandemic, but for like 6 months we were getting like rejections, and we were just submitting to like, I don't know, whatever you would think of as like the normal festivals. And my film partner was telling me, like, maybe we should just like do our online premiere, like, call it in. And I was like stubborn, and I was like, let me do some research. And I started looking at genre festivals, you know, and as soon as we started submitting to genre festivals, which I knew nothing about, you know, we got into Fantasia, which is like one of the biggest ones, and then we got into Nightstream, which was like an amazing collective of like Overlook and Brooklyn Horror and Boston Underground and North Bend, and then we got into like Beyond Fest, and so it just started to snowball, and you know, I feel like it did take some you know, resilience and strength to not give up and you know, stick with it, because I think when you do learn like who that audience is for that particular film of yours, I think it's you know, it's incredibly informative as a filmmaker.
It's so true. It's like there's nothing like someone coming up to you after a screening and saying like, "This moved me. This resonated with me." It makes all the rejection feel worth it when one person like felt seen by the work, and that connection with the audience is I think the whole point of it. I'll say, you know, the best advice I ever got, I think probably about pursuing this work is from my first ever screenwriting teacher in this really small like online Zoom class. He said, the goal of any, you know, work of art should only be to become a better artist. Like, and so I didn't make the serial short to try to get into Sundance. I truly thought that was like actually impossible. I made it just to learn, to be one day a better director, because the only way to become better is to keep doing it. And I think because there's nothing we can control, because so many of the best shorts of the year don't get into Sundance, don't get into HIF. Like, it's not about that. And so we can't aim for something that is truly out of our control. And the only thing that we can for sure bank on is that we'll be a better filmmaker after this screenplay, after this film. So I think I'm holding that tight as my goal for my next movie, is to just try to learn how to be a better filmmaker through it.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Alex, for sharing that. That's a perfect way to end things. But just real quick, last question. Someone did ask, where can they watch your short films, both Alex and Nick?
On Vimeo.
Yeah, yeah. You can go to my website, nickcartanto.com. But Daily City's on Short of the Week. All of my shorts are on Short of the Week.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Awesome.
Thirsty Girl is also on Short of the Week or on Vimeo. It was the Vimeo staff pick. You can also find it at thirstygirl.film.
Amazing. Well, thank you all so much again for joining us and for sharing all of your amazing insights and tips for our aspiring filmmakers and our network here at HIFILM and at HIF. Alex and Nick, I'm so excited to see, you know, your future works and see what you do next. And Irene, thank you so much. You know, all of your experience and tips were invaluable here to share. So thank you all so much again. Please don't leave yet. And I believe Jana's going to pop back in a second to wrap it up. But thank you all.
Thank you, Melina.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much again to Irene, Alex, Nick, and of course, Melina for that amazing panel. I hope everyone enjoyed themselves and got your questions in. It will be posted so you can watch it again in the future, and for our HIFILM members at first. And I just wanted to reiterate to everyone, you know, sign up for HIFILM membership if you're in Hawaii and you want to be a part of this filmmaking community, and you know, we're growing the industry together. And I also wanted to plug that we have coming up OPO Fest. So that's our spring youth-centered festival. It's coming up in April. We're really excited about that. And we'll see you all there. And thanks again to everyone. Have a great night.